this type of
Well,
entertainment?
I don't know, because it's hard to get. You're not going to get people to stop doing things that they think they enjoy.
Right.
Because everyone loves to go to the movies, right? You get your popcorn, you get your, gross drink and everything. But it's just something you do because everyone else does, and it's something you're supposed to enjoy.
Oh, well.
But I don't see that changing, really.
Well, I actually hope that there will be some kind of reorganization taking place with all the download issues that is taking place, and they're losing a lot of money. But I think Daniel Tatman pointed out to me another interesting aspect to all this, that they've known that the box ticket sales have been diminishing slowly but surely because people are downloading a lot of material.
Yeah.
But they've instead gone over to TV series and started reinvesting a lot of TV series. I think Daniel pointed out in a post, I can link this up on the website, where he mentioned that Disney, for instance, was behind a lot of the new started series, that they've noticed that they have more sales when it comes to selling box sets of DVDs of these series that people do marathons with and so forth, which takes us into this other interesting aspect of all the budget that are going into a lot of the interesting series these days. And I remember a post that you did on a newly started series called The United States of Tara. Tell us about that.
Okay, The United States of Tara is basically about this woman with a multiple personality disorder, which is ultimately what mind control, as far as Monarch programming goes, it's all about creating these multiple personalities, which you can then program to be, various infinite personality traits, different actions that they can have programmed to do. Which, if you want to get really into the detail of it, you need to read Fritz Springmeier, because I don't really do justice to the overall programming. But back to United States of Tara, anyway. If I could just read the description. But Tara isn't the only show, obviously. There's also Dollhouse as well, which is even more blatant in terms of mind control slaves. I just find it a bit odd that, because it is literally about mind control slaves, Dollhouse. If I could just read, can I read the description?
Absolutely, go ahead.
Okay. Eliza Dushku, which we were talking about earlier with her double-headed eagle tattoo, plays a young woman called Echo, a member of a group of people known as actives or dolls. The dolls have had their personalities wiped clean, as in, what happens in mind control.
Yeah.
In the early trauma, when they have to split the mind. So they can be imprinted with any number of new personas, including memory, muscle memory, skills, and language. For different assignments, referred to as engagements, the new persona is not an original creation, however, but an amalgam of different existing personalities. So as in real ones that they're basing it off of. Yeah, I'm writing up the first episode kind of as we speak, so
yes,
I will have a write-up of that on the go. And yeah, basically they provide service to the wealthy and the rich for any service, basically, if it's an assassin, or just a negotiator, or a sex slave, anything really, which kind of shows you how it is so widespread. But yeah, if in the United States of Tara, I should talk about that really, because I did an interesting post. And our alters are Alice, which is referencing Alice in Wonderland, which is a major theme involved in mind control, which we've already talked about a bit. Yeah, and the other ones are, there's Buck, which is her male personality, because you have to remember these personalities, they don't even have to be human. I mean, if we got into the specific programming types like beta programming, which is the beta alters are basically sex alters, and they are generally programmed to think of themselves as basically cats. If you think about it, it makes sense anyway, because we call the vagina the pussy, which is just obviously a pussycat reference. Yeah.
Yes.
And so yeah, that's the male personality. But like I was just saying, all of these alters can be programmed to be anything. But this show is portraying a girl who hasn't obviously undergone total monarch mind control like the girls in Dollhouse are. This show is just portraying someone who has grown up, has been we don't know it for sure yet, but has probably been abused as a child and has developed multiple personality disorder. So that's and which is so relevant to mind control, and it has all these subversive symbols in, like there's skull and bones everywhere, all over the Brie Larson as Kate Gregson. So yeah, it's a very interesting show, and I just find it strange that all these shows seem to be coming up at the same time with these mind control themes in that are so overt and so blatant.
Yes, absolutely. And another aspect to this, of course, is the that we talked about before a little bit, Miley Cyrus or the Hannah Montana show. Very similar thing going on.
Yeah, very similar, because obviously most people will know, but Hannah Montana is a show with Miley Cyrus about her playing Miley Stewart. So it's kept her real first name, because there is really no real difference between her and in her show and her in reality. It's all the same to her, I think.
Yeah.
And so yeah, she plays Miley Stewart, who has a secret alter ego called Hannah Montana. And Hannah is mirror symbol because Hannah, which is Na mirrored basically. And so and one I'll call it an alter when it's really just an alter ego here, but it shows you, it's basically showing you exactly what these stars are. They're essentially they literally have double lives, where they have so many different alters. This is just sort of portraying that as a kind of a dual way, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And I think for Miley Cyrus, you sort of have to start at the beginning with her, because I mean her real name, as I said, is Destiny Hope Cyrus. I mean, who names their child Destiny Hope? It seems a little strange to me.
Well, Billy Ray does.
Good old Billy Ray.
So.
He comes from the country music, obviously, and Miley Cyrus is godmother. She is Dolly Parton.
Really?
So
there we go.
It shows you again how the country music industry is all completely, it's all like a big family, a really twisted family.
And I know that, speaking of the country music scene, I know that Franklin Cover-Up, of course, Ted Gunderson, we're talking about this. Either was a radio show or he has specifically written about it. I can't remember which right now, but he did in some context mention at least that the whole country music scene was heavily involved in satanic ritual abuse. He was, of course, got savvy to this when he was working in the CIA and consequently dropped out of that after a while because, well, I think he basically got fed up with it. But that just shows that the potential linkage, so to speak, here is to this aspect to it, and it's involved in the entertainment industry, and Billy Ray Cyrus might be one of these handlers, if you will, for Miley, his daughter, Miley Cyrus.
Yeah, and we were talking about this on our talks before the show about Miley Cyrus's mum, Letitia, and which is basically the same as Letitia, which is a type of butterfly, which is more suggestions, which is a genus of butterfly, which is more suggestions of monarch mind control. And it's just, there are so many of these different things to do with Miley Cyrus, and I can't remember them all off the top of my head, which is always a problem with these types of things. But Miley Cyrus is just loaded with it, and they've obviously got massive plans for her.
Okay, yeah. She's
see.
Been mentioned as the next Madonna, whatever, and I mean, if we want to...
New Britney and everything.
There you go, yeah, exactly. So, and I guess that they have to have those, again, what we have to remember here, if we bring it into context, is that these are highly influential people, if you know what I mean. These are people who are, swaying masses of people in one area or another, depending on what they say, how they act, or whatever. So I think there's a real genuine interest in regards to power and how you manage human society. That's why they're so interested in having full control over these people. And I think that they're so paranoid, the handlers and the controls, so they have to have full control, not meaning financial control, but that they're I'm referencing this to psychological control, or even the control of
your mind, your body, and everything, really.
Yes.
But for just thinking about these stars, though, I mean, their lives, mind control slaves, proper monarch mind control slaves, and people who don't think that they're real, you have to understand that slavery is very real, and there are millions and millions of slaves in the world.
Yes.
Human trafficking is a huge problem. There are so many sex slaves, literal sex slaves, and I'm not talking about like kind of consensual BDSM where they pretend to be. I'm talking about actual sexual slavery, which supply the elite And a lot of these sex slaves are proper monarch programmed slaves, and most of these celebrities are as well. So
Yes.
It's really disturbing situation.
United States of Tara, going back there again, Spielberg being one of the creative producers behind it.
Yeah. I mean, his stuff has always been interesting because he's obviously one of the big directors. I mean, everyone has to see the new Indiana Jones. Everyone has to see whatever he makes.
Yeah.
So I thought this show was a little strange for him because it's obviously not anything big Hollywood spectacular type of thing we usually expect from him.
Yeah.
It's just kind of a simple show that tells a lot of truths while at the same time having some of these subversive themes. And of course, it's set in Kansas as well, so there's more.
There you go.
There's more mind control there with Kansas Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, and Tara going back to the.
Yeah, I saw some of your links on Red Ice Creations about Tara and how it's related to Buddhism and the symbolism involved in that. Sorry, you were going to say?
No, exactly the same. Connected with the goddess, the tradition coming out of Ireland, connected with Tara as well. But Spielberg, talking about him, he also, of course, were behind a few years ago the sci-fi collaboration series called Taken. Do you remember that? Did you see that?
Yeah, I do. I saw those Takens. But when you get into conspiracy, you kind of go through different phases, don't you? Where you're interested in whether it's aliens or whether it's the occult. There are lots of different things. Even if you don't buy it all, it's just something interesting that people who are into conspiracies do. And so I was watching Taken when I was kind of researching UFOs and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which was very interesting. And that, you could tell, didn't that have Dakota Fanning in or something?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, Dakota Fanning, who's now a big star, and her sister Elle Fanning, E-L-L-E, which is a really symbolic name, because, Elle is the Hebrew name for God, and El Mirad is what Elle Fanning is. And she was in this movie called Phoebe in Wonderland, which is obviously Alice in Wonderland, and I did a big write-up on that, which has loads and loads of mind control themes. And the fact that Dakota Fanning is in that, and she's Taken, and as we know, most alien abductions are, government controlled. They take them off and they program them, and with using aliens as kind of the theme. So they'd rather blame the aliens and have it as being kind of a human thing, if you know what I mean.
Well, I think that's a very interesting perspective, and again, going back to this idea of the fact that Spielberg has been involved in this type of mythology for a long time, connecting with the Close Encounters of the Third Kind and so much more, E.T. and what have you.
And he managed to put it in the last Indiana Jones, didn't he?
Yeah, absolutely, exactly. It's so obvious you don't even think of it sometimes. Exactly.
Yeah.
And absolutely, I mean, who knows? Again, my mind is very much open to that idea that it could be either or here, but it's definitely very interesting to keep in mind that the whole story of the ET or alien issue can be supplanted over another story, a more kind of human truth, as it were, and seen as some kind of mind control, some kind of because again, it's the same basic mythology. We can see the ETs as kind of fairies or something, either being this malevolent or benevolent force. But again, it's their presence is always very, very interesting, and it comes in this dreamy type of format. If you watch Taken, the series again, for instance, they put it in the context of circus groups. It always alters your consciousness in some way when they appear or when they begin to approach you or try to take you in some way.
There's always a big bright light which makes your eyes, that affects your eyes, and there's always a bright light when they come or something like that.
Yes.
To kind of trigger you into this altered state.
You mentioned something to me about lights as well, the cameras. Tell me about that. Very interesting.
Yeah. Well, if you think about these people like Miley Cyrus or Paris Hilton, where everywhere they go is photographed, basically. But these trips, they're not organized by them. They're organized by their agents, their managers, which they would call handlers, which we would literally think of as handlers, which I think they are, to be honest. Like all of their trips out to parties and stuff, none of them are like their plans for the evening. They're